Welcome to VezaTalks podcast. Tune in as we delve into the digital world of entrepreneurship and uncover the strategies and tactics of successful online business leaders. Today, I have Cascianini Riccardo. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me in your podcast.
Riccardo is the CEO and Executive Vice President of Helen Marlen Group, one of the largest luxury specialty retail groups in Europe, representing brands such as Gucci, Loro Piana, Burberry, Salvatore Ferragamo, and others in Ukraine. Riccardo has traveled all over the world, from India to Argentina, and is considered an expert on business restructuring, identifying new business opportunities, and leading and mentoring a staff of over 600 people. Welcome, Riccardo. Really nice to have you on this podcast. We're going to be talking about different kind of things. The world of luxury is very intriguing to me. I've been a fan of high-end brands all my life. I used to buy every single GQ magazine back in the 80s, late 80s. I used to have them on a shelf and in chronological orders. And I'm really intrigued by the high-end luxury brand business, and perhaps we can talk a little bit about that. But before we do, we would like to find out a little bit about Riccardo and, where are you from? Your life path. How did you get involved with, the brands that I just mentioned, which are very high end? So I imagine, being Italian, you're just born with a suit. And maybe you can speak a little bit about, your childhood and what you used to like to do and things like that.
First of all, thank you for having me again. So originally, I'm from Italy, Tuscany, a small village, let's say a small city near Florence. It's called San Sepolcro. And I started to be involved around the business of fashion when I was at the age of probably 15, 16. Because one day I was a professional basket players, but the cash that I gained from the basket was not enough to maintain my hobbies and everything. So my father told me, there is an opportunity, go to work in one store in our city and let's see. So I start really to like. I like what we call now selling ceremony, to talk with the client, to convince the client. And then when I understand that I cannot be rich playing basketball, because my dream was to play in NBA as all the basketball players, I decided to start to study more deep. I'm graduating economy and marketing. And I start to be more and more involved and analyze the business of fashion. And I graduate exactly with, let's say, the specification of business and luxury management. So, and then from there, I started my career. So I was working in a local big family company. It's called Ingirami Company. And I had the opportunity to understand how to manage the company, because I started really from the scratch till the high position. I mean, at that time, high position was export manager, as they call. And I clearly understand that more than that, I cannot. So I decide to move, and I move in other companies. So, and then I start to travel all over the world, as you said, from East Coast to the West Coast. And I start to increase more and more my network with connected with the fashion business. So now I'm here, as you said, as the CEO and Executive Vice President of Helen Marlen, in a very particular situation in Kiev, unfortunately, but the business, we try to maintain and, let's say, to save all our employees, because the most important now is to save and to maintain their salary, because the situation is not easy. And contemporary, I start to discover that I have with this inner sixth sense, I call, to talk with people, to say, to be a mentor for some people, of some colleagues, because I, as I said recently in one interview in Forbes, where I was ranked between the top 100 executive manager Italian in the world, I have two mentors in my life. One is my father, that is giving all the time a very good advice. And the second was Corrado Manaresi, the one that convinced me to leave a family small business fashion company to the big one. So, and I take the opportunity to use the same advice that he gave to help my colleague in Russia, in Ukraine, in the United States, wherever I was. So for me, it's important, the business, but also important to create a good connection with my employers. An example just happened yesterday. Unfortunately, my colleague of the logistics department left the company for personal reason, and she wrote an amazing letter where she thanked me in particular for the experience that I give to her and the opportunity to grow up. And for her to work with me was just fate. So she advised and she hoped that everybody has the opportunity to work with me. So I'm here trying to maintain alive the company, but also to help people.
Amazing. I mean, yeah, one of the very fulfilling things, I guess, as you get older is to be able to mentor people. And it literally comes up in every single podcast that we're doing now, you know, and the fulfillment that you get in helping other people and passing it forward, you know. Clothing is an interesting thing. I remember one of my good friends, he was the general manager at one of the largest high-end brand clothing company in Canada, Harry Rosen. Mm-hmm. And I remember this was maybe 2006-07, and he said to me, nobody will ever buy clothing online. This is not going to happen. And I laughed at him. You know, I've been online for over 20 years. And I said, no, they will. I don't know how yet, but they will. And so, you know, retail clothing being very kind of old school and having to go into a store and get measured and everything. Can you walk us through some of the challenges and some of the things that you guys had to do to pivot onto online sales? Or, you know, what is the first contact? I mean, I imagine, you know, with a brand, you look at the brand, but how do you get a customer from looking at a cool Gucci ad to walking into a store and actually buying, you know, $5,000 La Misura suit? You know, can you walk me through that?
Yeah, because
how did you guys achieve?
Luxury, as you said, is high end. So when any client is ready to spend $5,000 for a suit or for a bag, need an experience. I mean, you cannot receive this experience in the online, because let's give me an example. The Guccissima of Gucci is history. So you have to touch, you have to see. Our staff, as all the staff worldwide in Gucci, is obliged, let's say, to explain what is the peculiarity. So you have to fall in love. So that's why, for example, our business in particular in Kiev before the war was the high end, and I'm talking about Gucci, Ferragamo, Loro Piana. Okay, they will sell something online, but mostly the sales are still on offline, because the client like the experience to come to the store and to feel the experience inside, because the staff is trained to welcome the client in a certain way, to offer a glass of champagne, to talk. So it's more client to client relation. It's based on trust mostly, because when you are ready to spend 5,000, you need to have a good sales assistant to assist you and to sell. And I told you, is a history. Behind the Guccissima, there is an history. Behind the famous shoes of Ferragamo, there is an history. So who is buying this kind of stuff is buying the history of the brands. Then for the online, okay, Absolutely. It's more cold, because who is cool at the moment, you don't know, you don't need to try, you know your size and you buy. But I'm more specialized in the luxury. So we try to sell the experience, and logically, we try to make a business on this experience.
Absolutely. I remember I walked into a Versace store in, 2006 or something in Rome. And I literally, had no intention of buying anything. And as I walked in, they gave me champagne. They sat me down. They gave me some fruit, and half an hour later, I walked out with 5 bags, and I spent $4,000. It was, I'm like, I didn't know what happened to me, but it was just a cool experience, and I think that a lot of times people don't know what they don't know, so to speak, exactly. Right? So they think, it's Burberry or Gucci or Loro Piana. They maybe heard of it, but they don't understand the history of the brand and what goes into it and everything. It's I remember another story. It was in Napoli, and it was I forget the name now, but it was a famous suit maker, and this American came and he asked for a discount, and the guy said, "Discount? Do you know how many years I worked for this? Discount? You want discount on my life?" And it was a great thing that he said, right? It's like, forget about the discount. This guy's given his whole life to this craft of making suits, and but
it was just a great this is the example that I give to some client. I was listening to this story. Pablo Picasso was working in Barcelona at the beginning of his career. He was already famous. And one lady stopped him and said, Maestro, please make something for me. And he started to draw something. And then when he gave back the portrait, he said, okay, thank you. It's 3 million euro. 3 million euro? Why? And what about my experience? So this is important. So what we are selling is the experience and the history and the good quality of the item that we are trying to sell in the store.
Right. Amazing. So Helen Marlen Group is one of the biggest retail groups in Europe. Can you tell me a little bit more about the company and how it grew and where it's, how did they become successful? And I imagine you were a big part of that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the company started the business approximately 25 years ago, exactly when the perestroika arrived. So the actual owner is a family, Kavinsky. They were so visionary to understand that they can have business. So they, let's say the core business of this company was to sell the shoes. And I like when my owners, during our trip, they start to talk about their experience. And they started to sell the shoes in a kiosk, open air, outside in the market. And then one day, wow, the owners understand that this can be the business for their life. So they start to open not one kiosk, but 4 kiosks. And then they start to travel in Italy, to start to buy the Italian shoes. And from that moment, they decide to sell the Italian shoes in Kiev. Then, step by step, the economical situation in Kiev helped them a lot. They receive financial from the bank and everything. They start to be also real estate investors. They create what we call the Madison Avenue or Via Monte Napoleone in Kiev, the luxury. So we are the owner of the premises. And then, thanks to connection, different people, my help or other manager, they start to build this empire that is now actually is divided in 2 parts. There is Helen Marlen luxury division that is managing all the monobrands that we were talking. And then the contemporary Helen Marlen that is managing other stores. Plus, we have whole distribution in few cities in Ukraine where we are selling under our brands, Helen Marlen, the Italian shoes. So they grow up from 4 people up to 600 employees.
Wow. It's amazing to hear these stories about people and companies that one would never hear, on regular channels. And that's why I love having this podcast, because we have this incredible people such as yourself on these podcasts and talking about successes that really cement me and other people to realize that, it does take a lot of hard work. It does take dedication. And that it's not as easy as everybody, makes it out to be and everything like that. So it's a fantastic story. I love hearing these rags to riches stories. Tell me a little bit more about leadership. I mean, obviously, as the CEO and executive vice president, you have to be a good leader. So what does good leadership mean to you, and how do you execute that?
One of my principles is that I want to create with the people that I'm working with a good scenario where to work. So first of all, I don't have my private office isolated from the other. So I used to say in the open space with all my colleagues because I want to be involved with them. Leadership means for me it's try to make it easy or simple what looks like very difficult. So that means I strongly believe in the capacity and capability of my colleagues. So for me, two heads is always better than one. So I never take my decision, even though the final decision is mine, but I try to listen the other. And if it's a good idea, I try to use this idea in order to help. So for me, it's a group of people that believe in my strengths, believe in my experience, but on the same time, I give them the opportunity to grow. So I never had bad words on them. I always have a very good behavior. And I always say thanks for a good idea. And I never say that it's bullshit, but try to say that probably is not the right idea. So for me, leadership means, as the word said, leader of a group. So I'm not alone in the success. Logically, I take as a personal success, but I share the success with my colleague.
Right. Okay, that's great advice. I like that. One of the things that I'm wondering about when it comes to brand integrity and quality is how do you keep the brand integrity intact? In other words, if I was Mr. Gucci or Mr. Burberry, how would I know that you, Helen Marlen Group, would actually keep that brand integrity alive, so to speak? What recommendations and what things can you make sure that that brand doesn't get diluted, so to speak? I think that's a really important.
Yeah, first of all, not everybody can be official franchisee of Gucci. You have to pass a lot of tests, exam, reputation, financially verification. But in the moment that you became an official franchisee of the top brands, you receive every season a certain guideline. So you are obliged to maintain the most high standard level of service and knowledge about the brands. So our staff, before to go to work with the client, is obliged to pass different tests in order to know the quality, in order to know the selling ceremony, everything. So it's very difficult to maintain this high-star quality system. It's like you are waiting the stars Michelin of the restaurant. So every season you are under exam. So before the war, a lot of managers from this top brand used to come in Kiev as Mr. Shopper to verify if we have all the, let's say, if we respect all the indication of the guideline. And if not, we have to work hard to maintain, to increase, and to convince them that we are the right partner.
Amazing. So I understand that you guys own mono brand stores, and you also have multi-brand stores as well.
Yes.
Can you walk me through some of the issues with having multiple brands in a store, or having just one brand? What are the advantages, disadvantages? Is there a difference in the selling ceremony, I suppose, with each store? How does that work?
I mean, to manage the mono brand, it's very easy, because if you follow the rules, you're okay. And the company, the big brands, are so organized that they are thinking about everything, about marketing activities, promotion. So they give all the advice in order to maintain the service and the high quality of the brands. For the multi-brand, it's more difficult because you need to have first a very good buying team. So the buyer, as we call a general merchandising manager. So man or woman that is fully involved through social network, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, to discover what is the cool and the tendency worldwide. Then is the job of me, of my colleague, in order to convince the brand to come. And logically, when you are going to a new brand and you introduce your company like a leader, everybody wants to be a part of this project. So, there are, for the multi-brands, there are no rules as in the mono-brands. So we adapt or we adjust the rules of the mono-brands to the multi-brands. So we want to give the same level, but in a more easy way. So in the mono-brands, in the franchisee, the staff is obliged to stay all day with the suit, tie, very elegant. On the other side, the guys are more easygoing, jeans, t-shirt, sweater, but the connection with the client is the same. We want to put the client in the best way and position to start to buy in our store.
Right. Amazing. How do you onboard new clients? And what I mean by that, I mean, there's two levels to this question. The first is, I remember when I was 17, 18, and, I didn't have any money, and I was very intimidated by some of these stores. I would walk in, and I remember one place that, they made me feel very, very good. And even though I couldn't afford anything, maybe a year later, when I did have some money, I would come back and I would remember that I was treated with dignity and respect. Do you guys have any kind of, training, I suppose, to facilitate this onboarding of the next generation, so to speak? Is that something that you guys talk about?
We always try to take inspiration for the biggest and the major department store in the world, like Galeries Lafayette, Printemps, Rinascente, Saks, or I don't know, Barney, and for us, or Selfridges. So we always take inspiration for them, and we try to even to connect our company, Helen Marlen, with this big organization in order to exchange the stuff or to ask for the opportunity to our staff to go there to spend some time and to understand how to work properly with our local staff. Logically, in order to have new client, the big help is coming from the brand awareness. I mean, Gucci, everybody knows. Burberry, everybody knows. Loro Piana is high quality. The rest is the social network. I mean, when you are in a good follower position in the social network, it's easy to have new brands and everybody are more and more involved, because normally when we start to work with any new brand, I'm the one that I'm asking to have the exclusivity in the city of Kiev in this moment for at least 2-3 seasons. That means for 2 years, in order to evaluate if we are the right partner, in order to understand if the brand is ready for this market, and then we start to develop. Develop means together after 2 seasons, 2 years, we start to plan marketing activities, activities online, activities offline, in order to increase the business.
Okay, interesting. That's great. I just thought about another topic which is came into my mind, and that's counterfeit goods. How does that affect your business, and do you care about that? And if you do, what is there that you guys can do about that? I mean, does it help your business because more people want, the real product? I imagine that must be some, a challenge that every brand goes through. What are some of your thoughts about?
I mean, the fake, it's a big problem worldwide. But I have an idea, because if you are a client of the top brands, when you see a client that is buying Gucci or Ferragamo, Loro Piana, you immediately understand the style of this client. I mean, who is buying has a particular style. So you clearly understand when other people has not this style, you clearly understand that probably can be a fake. logically, we receive some complaint from our client that there is a fake here and there. But we just inform the big brands that there is this problem, and they interfere immediately if they want. But frankly speaking, is not creating a lot of problem for us, because all the clients know that if they want the real quality, the real made in Italy, the real brand, the only one in Ukraine is Helen Marlen for certain groups. So for us, it's not the problem.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Great. So I'm going to switch over a little bit to, I suppose, spirituality in business and everything. So I understand that you traveled to India and you went to an ashram.
Yeah.
Can you, tell me a little bit more about that side of yourself and what made you, jump to that side of life? I'm very intrigued by that. I myself meditate every day and used to do some yoga and whatnot. But tell us a little bit about Riccardo, the spiritual guru.
I mean, I'm not guru yet. I hope. No, I'm joking. But as I told you before, I was playing basketball professionally for so many years, and for me, sport was basketball. Okay. And then I remember at the end or at the beginning, our trainer used to say to us, let's make some stretching. And we were stretching the muscles and everything. Even the trainer of Michael Jordan, I saw in the movie Netflix Last Chance, they were doing this stretching at the end of the training season, training period. So for me, yoga or something was like, it's so boring. Then I decided to travel, and I discovered this amazing opportunity to use the body in a different way. And I immediately recognized it. My old stretching exercise is the pose of yoga. So, and I start. Yoga, is not just stretching or pose. It's mindful. I mean, you have to be involved. So that means, as you said, I am part of a big group. So it's meditation in the morning for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then yoga. So it's let's say, is giving me new strengths during the day to start. Imagine that before the war, I was the one, together with my colleague with who I'm doing yoga, to organize a yoga lesson in the office. And all my colleagues, they were coming and have yoga. Then I start to share with them some podcast or some interview of, I don't know if you know, Jay Shetty on Purpose, the ex-monk and everything. And I start to involve more and more in this, let's say, spiritual way, just to give them some rules to follow, to feel better in order to smile during the day. Because for me, it's so important to see people smile that you cannot even imagine. I am worried when I go in any office and I see all these people in front of the computer and not smiling. For me, the smile is the most important. I remember in Japan, one teacher told me, I hope you have to wake up in the morning and go in front of the mirror and say to yourself, I hope to meet people that are smiling like me.
Riccardo, so one of the questions that I ask my guests is who influenced you and some of the role models that you have? And I know you mentioned your father and Mr. Corrado. How did they influence you? Can you give us some examples?
My father, logically, as a mentor of my life. I mean, my father gave me the best example how to be the best version of myself. Logically, it's, let's say, my father is an old mentality because now he's 79 years old. So I try to adapt this to the actual time. But the base is respect, responsibility, be happy and never lie. Mr. Corrado, I consider him like my second father, but from a business point of view. He just taught me to be extremely professional, reliable, and respect the people. So be sure and do your best in order to help your company and to help yourself to be a better version of yourself. Then logically depend of the education, depend of the network that you create. So then it's a hard job that I did by myself in order to reach to become the person that I am. And thanks in particular to this, let's say also all my family that helped me to grow and to be more stronger and more confident.
What about famous people? Anybody in particular that you feel connected to?
I mean, there are some, but it's like more business, let's say, you know, we meet sometime to share some thought. But I like, I'm more interesting to meet new, as I said, interesting person. Let's say people that can give me some goosebump, no, in order to understand after a few seconds that we are talking with if it's good or not. So I'm more curious to discover new people than to make more deeper the connection with some VIP. Okay, it's important to have, but I have, it's okay, I'm lucky, but I prefer to meet new people that give me something new, something different that I can use in my daily experience.
Wonderful. Excellent. Another question is, if you were in my shoes and you had to ask yourself a question, what would that question be?
Riccardo, are you happy?
Are you happy, Riccardo?
I am alive. This is very important. I mean, I thanks God every day that I wake up, and I thank God that I have the opportunity to continue to work and to help people. Let's say I am okay, but for me it's important to be alive. Logically, I would like that this country will soon solve this unstable and difficult situation. I would like that all the family of my colleague are safe because it's very difficult in this moment. I would like that all my colleagues are happy in their job. So they are coming at least to be more relaxed and not to have some problem. And I'm happy when the people around me are happy. So I'm okay. Let's say I'm okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, Riccardo. I really, really appreciate you taking the time. I know that you're in a tricky place of the world, and I'm very honored to have you as a guest. I wish you nothing but the best, and hopefully we get to have a nice glass of champagne and meet in person. Thank you again for your time, Riccardo. Grazie mille.
Thank you so much, Mario, for having me. It was very interesting. Thank to Aziz, that it's a very important person for me. We share the same experience in Kiev. So I am always at your disposal for any kind of talking and everything.